So we're going to start with, I would say pretty confidently, the player that each of us would have 10th among these 10. This is a player from the University of Florida. However, while the University of Florida, he did not have as many career carries as Tim Tebow. So that was a legitimate knock on his profile. He was drafted in the 4th round. However, many reports have said, many people are saying, that he does have that dog in him. It is, of course, Dameon Pierce, the same Dameon Pierce who has been taking the NFL by storm, the person who, when I left him out of my top 10 future dynasty running backs a while ago, people were absolutely outraged, could not fathom the idea that he would be left outside of anyone's top 10 dynasty running backs when he is so clearly an irreplaceable option. Here's the deal with Dameon Pierce and why he is the RB1 overall in Dynasty. Look, if you want a running back who's going to, dick around outside, catch a bunch of passes, that's not Dameon Pierce. Right? If you want a running back who has explosive speed, who's going to be able to take balls all the way to the house on a moment's notice, that's not Dameon Pierce either. If you want a running back who plays on an ascending offense that has the opportunity to score 20 to 25 touchdowns over the course of a season, that's definitely not Dameon Pierce either. But if you want a running back who's going to break more tackles than any other running back per his attempts in the NFL, that's also not Dameon Pierce, but it's really close to being a Dameon Pierce. He's 3rd in that particular metric. Dameon Pierce is a young bulldog of a running back who's been sparsely used, so he's got a lot of tread left on the tire. He had an ADOT of over 2 in college, and so that allows for an opportunity for potential expansion in the receiving game in the intermediate and downfield areas, on top of the rushing production that he's already shown to be an elite tackle-breaking type of runner. If you want the full package, all you need to do is turn on the film, get yourself some Dameon Pierce, RB1 overall in Dynasty.
Yes, I will be turning on the film later to just confirm this take, but in the interim, I'll use other things to disprove this irrational behavior. And I'm really happy that we decided that I would go off script and be the negative person. I don't think I could have pulled that off.
I don't think I pulled it off very well either.
I think you did great.
I did my best.
So Dameon Pierce is not a good prospect. He's playing well in the NFL. Good for him. I'm really happy for him. He is scoring at a terrific rate, 15.2 fantasy points per game. That is almost an RB1, despite having, pretty giant target or opportunity share of 72.6%. One of the things that I really love about Dameon Pierce, as you've mentioned, is that he's just like dynamite in the passing game. Often I don't really care about yards per reception because it's fairly irrelevant, and it speaks more to depth of target and things like that at the wide receiver position. The interesting thing about that is at the running back position, there is no depth of target. Pretty much all of the running backs catch the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage, which means that yards per reception does tell you a little bit about their capabilities in the receiving game. And Dameon Pierce is a strikingly proficient receiver. Like strikingly, he is averaging 4.9 yards per reception, which is atrocious. It is like among the worst I can even recall seeing. Like, he is absolutely definitively 100% not going to be a 3-down running back in the NFL. He is Jordan Howard at best, and Jordan Howard was considerably better than Dameon Pierce has been thus far. If we go further and we want to, know about his efficiency, you did mention some things. I like one of my favorite metrics is yards created per touch per fantasy or for playerprofiler.com.
No, it's not. That's not one of your favorite metrics. We've talked about exactly why that metric is fraudulent.
Yeah, it's fraudulent because it increases.
It's an unintentionally good metric, is what it is.
Yeah.
It tells us, it doesn't necessarily tell us what it says it's telling us.
Yeah.
But it is actually directionally good at telling you who to draft.
It's great. It's great because what it does is it is yards per touch. It's not yards per carry. Yards created per touch, not yards created per carry, which means that when you are a running back that's catching passes out in the flat, you are going to have to beat one man and then you'll get 5 yards. Like you make one guy miss, and there's not 3 more guys on top of you because you're out in space. So every time that you make somebody miss, you get more and more yards on a per touch basis. The wonderful thing about this is that despite having 20 receptions already through the first 9 weeks of the season, Dameon Pierce is number 22 in yards created per touch, which is decidedly not exciting. And the wonderful thing about that as well is he has a 33.3% juke rate, which isn't quite the same as broken tackle rate, because broken tackle rate means that they actually had to have a chance. They've got hands on you, like they've tried to tackle you. Juke rate also factors in the times that you just like literally evaded the tackle, which Dameon Pierce does not do, because Dameon Pierce is not an athlete. He's a guy who's just going to hopefully break some tackles because he's pretty big. And what's really remarkable about that is that he's facing a remarkable 6.5 average defenders in the box per playerprofiler.com, which is completely bonkers considering the offensive weaponry displayed by the Houston Texans, featuring, Brandon Cooks, who's pretty good. And then a whole bunch of guys that aren't pretty good. And then we're also featuring a quarterback who defenses are obviously terrified of and refuse to stack the box because of the presence of Davis Mills airing the ball down the field. They're not like, it's so wild to me. They're like inviting Dameon Pierce to run.
Well, that's because the Texans are always behind, right? There's score effects. You don't play 8 man in the box if you're up by 14 points.
Well, yeah, that's true. But the whole point of this all is that he's facing no one in the box. So we're not dealing with him breaking a tackle and then having, again, gang tackles that he has to break. We're dealing with a guy who breaks a tackle and there's nobody else there. If he breaks one tackle, he's going to create more yardage, except he doesn't. He's just remarkable. I don't know. He's David Montgomery, if you're into David Montgomery.
I've compared him to Chris Carson before. I've compared him to like a slightly poverty Josh Jacobs before.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if you look at him, like, so he's a good runner, but like people have vastly overestimated how good of a runner he is, right? So my like favorite stat in terms of like how good of a rusher you are, I still don't think it's a perfect stat, but if I was going to pick one, it would be rush yards over expectation per attempt. He is at 0.79, so that's like good. It's not Najee Harris, who's at negative 0.88. Like if your running back is at 0.88, you have a good running back. But he's 15th in that metric. He's right around guys like Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier. He's he's a good running back. But if you're going to bet on like a round 4 running back, you either want them to be an extremely special rusher, an electric receiver, or at least a voluminous receiver, or an incredible athlete. And he's not an electric receiver. He's not an incredible athlete. And he's a good, not great runner. So that means his ceiling is being like Chris Carson, and his floor is being immediately replaced like Jordan Howard or James Robinson.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing with, is he the running back one in fantasy or in dynasty football, is that he carries a tremendous amount of risk. I don't really care what he does this year. It doesn't really matter unless he is completely special. Alfred Morris put up 1,600 yards and then never had another top 12 season. James Robinson was the running back 5 in points per game and got bailed out by the Travis Etienne injury last year and was like running back 20 last year. Yeah. I get the offense was different. We had who's the coach? The really good one. The really good coach they had last year. They had to like
Urban Meyer. Yeah, Suburban Meyer.
I get that was, not great for the offense as a whole, but let's be serious. They were a bottom tier offense every year, or they should have been.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're going to bet on Dameon Pierce, like who cares? I know it's a second year player. Just bet on Ramondre Stevenson. Like if you look at the rush yards over expectation per attempt, they're like side by side. Ramondre Stevenson is 5th in the NFL in juke rate at 44.5%. They're like the same type of 4-6, like tackle breaking type of running back. The big difference is Ramondre Stevenson actually catches the ball. He has 35 receptions versus 20 for Dameon Pierce. That's like almost double in terms of his receiving game usage. He's 9th in the NFL on yards per route run. He's 6th among all running backs in target share. Like, at least with Ramondre Stevenson, it's like, oh, this is a day 3 running back who's like a good rusher and he's a highly involved receiver, right? He's had 7 targets or more in each of his last 3 games. Dameon Pierce has not approached 7 targets. So like this is it's a right. Like isn't Stevenson clearly like the more intriguing profile if you're going to make the bet? Like, and to be clear, I would not be trading a first round pick for Ramondre Stevenson either. But if like gun to my head, I had to do one or the other, I would take the one who's also catching a bunch of footballs.